This video is sponsored by KEH Camera, and if you're interested in any of the things I'm talking about today, you can support the channel by clicking on the links below. Hey everyone, my name is Ben Chaish, and today we are looking at a camera that I feel like is very overlooked and underappreciated in the current, I guess, personal camera style environment, and that is the Fujifilm X100F. Now for some background, for those who have followed the channel at all, you've probably seen lots of videos that I've done on the X100V, and you've also seen this camera pop up in a couple things like the video I did with my son where we went out and used the X100V and the X100F together. I also want to add that I didn't actually purchase this camera. It was actually gifted to my son Oslo, so obviously a massive thank you to Fujifilm for providing this really nice camera for my son and my family to use. And while I've spent a ton of time using the X100V personally, it's been really nice to have a camera that was already used and was already sort of gifted to us. I wanted it to just be a camera that I could toss in a bag, that I could give to my kids, that obviously I'm gonna treat with respect of a solid product. But I think that is the thing that really turned me on to loving using this camera. I know a lot of people love the film simulations on these, and it's honestly something that I recommend to a ton of people. And so one of the things I decided to do on this camera, just for the sake of making it easier to make interesting images for my kids, I popped this camera open, jumped into the menu, and decided I was just not going to use this camera in RAW anymore. I was only going to use it on JPEG, and I was only going to use it in black and white. But the thing I love about using this camera for family stuff specifically is just the fact that I'm not worried about going back and editing any of the photos at all. We just love black and white images, and obviously if you've seen my Q2 monochrome video, you know that I just love taking photos in black and white. And I've really loved the images coming out of this, and the idea that I can just transfer them directly to my computer and not have to even enter them into Lightroom has been a really fantastic thing for me to be able to just document memories and not worry about the whole process of it.
Baby, I'm thriving. Oh yeah, I'm living my best life. I wake up with the sunrise. It does not look a thing like I thought that it would, but I've been getting my steps in, and I sleep with my best friend. It's the best that it has been in a long time. I'm living my best life. Laid plans. Now I'm holding on to my daughter's hand. I've got a reason to be alive. And, oh yeah, baby, I'm thriving. Yeah, I'm living my best life. Yeah, living my best life. I've been living my best life.
If you've liked this video so far, please consider subscribing and giving this video a like. I'm trying to do a lot more of this YouTube content, and I have a ridiculous amount of videos that I would love to make. And one of the only ways I'm gonna be able to do that is if I can make a little bit more of this make sense financially. And so if you want to support the channel, you can definitely click some of the links down below and support me in different ways there. But honestly, just leaving a like on this video and subscribing to the channel would also be something that would cost you literally nothing and be a huge help and support to me. The other thing about the X100F, specifically in contrast to a lot of other cameras, is that hybrid EVF. I really love using point and shoots. I had a Contax T2 for a long time. I have an Olympus stylus, and my main point and shoot is the actually Fujifilm Class W. And when you use the optical viewfinder in here, it is very sort of reminiscent of using those cameras. I've found that it does tracking pretty darn well. When I'm just using the optical viewfinder and I've turned off the back viewfinder altogether, it's definitely the closest experience to shooting film that I have out there, and is honestly very, very reminiscent of using either like a Contax G1 or G2 or just simply a point and shoot. The other thing that I appreciate about the X100F is that it came out in 2017 and it has been succeeded by the X100V. So there are a lot of copies out there on the market. With all the supply chain issues and everything, the X100V has been very, very difficult to get. But if you're someone that doesn't want to spend the money on an X100V, and maybe you're going between the two cameras, I would definitely check out the X100F because it is a really great camera and significantly less than the X100V, especially on places like KEH Camera, who are the sponsor of this video. As I've said before, I haven't purchased a new camera in almost a decade, and as this month is actually Earth Month, buying used gear not only saves you and I money, but then allows those things to have a life beyond just sitting on your shelf. And as someone who spends a lot of time in the outdoors and honestly uses it as a subject in my photographs, taking care of the environment is something that I'm pretty darn passionate about. And giving items a second life like this is definitely just one more way to, I guess, be conscious of the impact we have on the environment. And one of the reasons I'm honestly just really thankful to have KH as a sponsor is because I've been using them for a long time and have always been happy with my experiences. KH also has a 21-day return policy as well as a 180-day warranty. They also go through and individually check out each piece of gear and have a very conservative rating system. So it's basically the most risk-free way of buying used gear on the internet. And if you don't want to go through the hassle of listing and selling your gear as well, one of the things you can do is empty out your shelves or closets of the gear you don't use and either sell it to KEH, or you can even just trade it in for other gear you might want to be purchasing. So again, thanks to KH for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel. And if you want to help support the channel a little bit more as well, you can click on some of the links down below to maybe buy some used gear of your own. Now for the autofocus, it's definitely not as fast as the X100V. If my kids are running directly at me, it's sort of hit or miss. But for the most part, especially if you're looking through the electronic viewfinder, it does a great job of letting you know whether or not you're basically in focus for any of that. And because I know a lot of people have asked, I'm gonna jump in and actually give you my settings for the focus as well. So my AF mode is on wide tracking. Focus point display I have is on, that just helps me see it. The number of focus points, that's turned off, but it's at 91. I don't have pre-AF on. I don't have the AF illuminator on. For the face and eye detection settings, I just keep it pretty simple. It allows me to either do face on or face off. It doesn't allow me with these settings in particular to do eye autofocus, but I found that this has worked just fine. So we go with the face on version. Pretty simple settings. Again, not a lot of craziness, but I have found even with kind of running kids and everything like that, I will say that it hunts a little bit and it's kind of loud, but it hasn't really ever been an issue. And again, for a more personal use camera, it's more than acceptable in that way. I feel like I was definitely sleeping on this camera, but I do feel like while this camera is sort of redundant, I guess, to having both, my brain is just wired in a way where I like having dedicated things for dedicated purposes. And I think this camera is going to be sticking around my family and our personal lives and events for a long, long time, being the camera that we can just bring everywhere, not really worry about what happens to it. And for stuff like that, this camera is more than enough. It renders things really well, and sure, when you're super close, it doesn't give you the best sharpness out there or anything like that. But for like a family memory style camera, It has been absolutely fantastic. I've loved the images out of it. It's a really easy camera to use, and honestly, I recommend it to anybody that wants to save a little bit of money over the features of the X100V that you may or may not need. And if you were someone that hasn't used a lot of the film simulations for the Fujifilm system, maybe take your camera around, toss it on the black and white setting on JPEG for a while, and just see what kind of images that you're able to take with that, especially without needing to go and process them afterwards. So thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please, again, think about leaving a like and subscribing. If you want to see the current price of this camera on KEH and its availability, again, I will definitely have links in the description down below. And if you have another camera that is, I guess, your personal camera, and you want to share either your experience of the X100F or another camera like that, please drop it below. I would love to know what kind of stuff you are using on an everyday basis, because I am just the person, again, that carries a camera everywhere with me and would love to hear some more about what other people are doing. So thanks so much again, and I will see you all on the next one.